So a big-time superstar gets fed up and leaves Raw unannounced. You ever have deja vu? I'm Chris Wolvie, the wrestling vlogger who always tells it like it is. Meh. 2 out of 6 for WrestleMania Backlash. Subpar performance for a subpar PLE. Hell in a Cell should be better, I hope. And I'll talk about all this unification nonsense next time. But everyone seems to be talking about what happened last Monday. A six-pack challenge was scheduled to be held to decide the number one contender for Bianca Belair's Raw Women's Championship. Among the competitors were going to be the WWE Women's Tag Team Champs, Naomi and Sasha Banks. Now the word is that Naomi was supposed to have won that match by pinning Sasha Banks. This would lead to Naomi challenging and subsequently losing to Belair, while Banks would challenge and also lose to SmackDown Women's Champ Ronda Rousey. The two would still remain tag champs for a while, but their main goal was to help push other ladies like Raquel Gonzalez and the returning Asuka into prominence. Well, apparently that didn't sit well with Naomi and Banks. An hour or so before Raw went on the air, the ladies went to Mr. McMahon's office in the arena, and after some words were exchanged, they placed the women's tag title belts on the desk, left the office, and just before Raw started, left the arena altogether. That made the writers scramble to adjust the card and made the number one contenders match a one-on-one affair between Becky Lynch and Asuka, which the Empress of Tomorrow won. All sorts of statements were made by WWE officials and superstars about why Naomi and Banks bailed. Some said they didn't understand what they felt. Others say they must have felt overworked and or underappreciated. Still others didn't really like their attitude leading up to the incident. But on Friday, Michael Cole announced on SmackDown that A, Naomi and Sasha Banks were suspended indefinitely, B, the women's tag team titles were vacated, and C, a tournament would be set up to crown new champs. Also, all their merchandise has been removed from WWEshop.com, though they are still technically part of the company. Now, Naomi and Banks have been big names in the WWE for at least the last half dozen years, maybe even more. Banks has been a champion, both singles and tag, many times in her career since being called up for the Women's Revolution. And Naomi has had more than one WrestleMania moment, even though her title list is considerably shorter. It was a bit shocking that they even became a team, let alone won the titles, but they have proven since that they are worth the raises the WWE were planning on giving them with new contracts. So, what was with the sudden lockout? I mean, if they didn't want to work so hard, they should have just given up the titles and returned to singles competition, preferably on different brands. If they felt underappreciated, they could have made it known beforehand. Yeah, maybe they did and the response wasn't up to snuff, but the idea of negotiations is to find out what's wrong and find some way to rectify it, not just march into your boss's office and essentially say, straighten this crap out or we walk. And you know, this eerily reminds me of someone else who, at the height of his career in the WWE, decided out of the blue he had enough and walked out before a Raw taping. Phillip Brooks. I refuse to call him by his name, but I'm sure you know who he is. Had a pretty good run in the WWE in all three brands at the time, Raw, SmackDown, and ECW. But at the 2014 Royal Rumble, he was forced to start the match first and then was eliminated by Kane after Kane had been eliminated. This must have felt like the last straw for Brooks. He was interviewed later in 2014 to be, quote, sick and hurt and sick and tired, unquote. Most likely by the way he was treated leading to and during the Rumble. So on the Raw after the Rumble, Shortly before the show was to start, Brooks told McMahon and Triple H, "I'm going home." He grabbed his bag, left the arena, and never returned to the WWE. He's currently wrapping up his first full year in AEW. He rarely, if ever, mentions the WWE, and the WWE doesn't mention him much either. Needless to say, it's going to take a lot of convincing on both sides to put Brooks in the WWE Hall of Fame. Right now, Naomi and Sasha are officially suspended, but who knows what will happen. Naomi may decide she doesn't want to re-sign with WWE and take her talents to AEW. Not sure how far Banks is in her contract, but who's to say she can't just say, "I'm retiring from the ring." Wait out the rest of her contract and then unretire Tom Brady style and go to AEW. Now, yes, Phillip Brooks did have an ever so brief MMA career between sports entertainment stints, but I really don't see Naomi entering UFC or the such anytime soon, do you? Banks, maybe, but not Naomi. All I know is that whatever mistakes the WWE made that lost them Brooks, they have not learned from them. Fans and officials alike were hoping Brooks would change his mind and return, but Brooks had enough of the WWE's alleged abuse and left with middle fingers extended. Now, over 8 years later, it seems the glow has rubbed off of the women's tag champs, and they decided they seem to be sticking their well-manicured middle fingers up at Vinnie Mac. "Vince, Booby, this cannot stand. It takes more than races to keep superstars happy these days. It may have taken 8 years for this incident to repeat, but who's to say that the next time it happens won't be in 8 months, or 8 weeks, or even 8 days? Snap out of your dimension for one damn minute and talk to your talent. Otherwise, you'll have more top talent giving you the bird in no time. And if you really want to compete with AEW these days, you can't afford to let these birds make like Phillip Brooks and fly away." I'm Chris Ward with the Wrestling Vlog, who always tells it like it is. Stay safe, pray for peace, and I'll see you